Welcome to the space where creators have aligned a positive and intellectual collab of open minds. For sharing and learning from one another, it's a vibe. ReadswithRosa podcast on the mic. Subscribe, educator spitting bars. I guess you didn't know I'm multifaceted and humble, checking off life goals. The classroom is my comfort zone where I plant and sow seeds of knowledge, compassion, empathy, and hope. Reading is the key to unlocking your potential. Countless benefits, including cognitive and mental. Regardless of the genre, books are highly influential. Go get yours, I'll get mine. Making strides, monumental. Come rock with me and get down to this new jam. With my friends, I had a very simple plan. Educate the masses through books and life lessons. It's the grand slam. I'm out. Nisa bula vinaka, Talofa. Welcome to the ReadswithRosa podcast. Our guest today is joining us from Dunedin, New Zealand. She is a mother, a business owner, a youth leader, and an educator. Welcome to the show, Talai Mapusua Nabalagi. How are you, sis?
Thank you. So thank you for, I guess, reaching out first and foremost, the invitation to be on here. And then thank you for accommodating the number of times I've had to reschedule just to be here. But we're here, feeling good, doing really well. Thank you very much. And I hope you two are there doing good over there too, sis.
Oh, man, honestly, sis, I know, man, you're a busy mom and you work full time. Like, I'm not even messing with that. So I am so happy. I've been so happy to accommodate you. I've been so nervous because it's like every time I have to, we put it back, I'm like, oh my God, you better not mess up. You better do good. You got to do good, Rosa. Anyways, it's not about me. Welcome to the show. I was wondering if we could begin with an introduction, if you could just introduce yourself to our audience and listeners.
Absolutely. Talofa, malulsefua, nisambol vinaka. My name is Talai Mapusua Nabalagi. Really just honored to be here on ReadswithRosa. As Rosa said, I'm currently living in Dunedin. I'm a mum to 3. Dunedin is home after having sort of growing up in other areas in New Zealand. Been living in Dunedin for 18 years now. It's become our home away from home, and I look forward to sharing a little bit more about my journey in this talanoa.
That's right, and you know what? Honestly, we're going to talk about Dunedin, all right? That's what's up, but not right now. First of all, I guess I really just wanted to know. I want to know, like, younger. I mean, you're still young, but young student, high school, Talai. Like, what was like, Lai? What were you like at school? Were you, a hardworking student? Were you into sports? Which is such a stereotype that they have of us. Were you a reader? What kind of student were you? Did you love school, or were you kind of like,
Yeah, no, definitely. I loved school, and I think that came from having a. Both my parents were educators in Samoa, and so I really did love school. I attended Wiri Central Primary School in South Auckland. I really enjoyed the learning, where the competitive learning. So I was really lucky to have some really cool teachers who would take us and sort of get us to challenge other classes through, whether it was math or drawing or reading. So I really enjoyed that. And into high school, I started my high schooling at Aorere College. And again, I really credit my, my enjoyment of school and learning to the people that were sort of, that I came into contact with. So I've got a number of teachers who absolutely love and adore. Some of them I still keep in touch with. So one of them, shout out to Junior Ulu, who was my 4th form social studies teacher. But I think it was the ability to relate to the teachers and the things that they talked about were so familiar to what I was, where I came from. So that made it easier to, once those connections were formed within the classroom, it made it easier to enjoy what the learning and teaching was, both at primary and high school. So I As you can tell, sports was not my but I loved reading. I loved reading and I loved math. And again, I really have to say that was really due to my dad's influence. Growing up, we all hear this, ko anga whilea onga, ko anga whilea onga, and he was really involved. And as busy as he was in the church, my dad was at every single parent-teacher interview. If I got an award, my dad was there at the celebration. If I was lucky enough to join different, I guess, mentoring groups, learning groups, my dad was really involved. So I think that played a huge part in my in my love for going to school. And so yeah, that's what it was like. And I finished high school in Wellington at St. Catherine's College. But by that time, my parents had returned back to Samoa. So that is where things might have changed slightly for me in terms of just having my dad physically there to not only okingia, but just that extra push.
Yeah, did you become a rebel or something when you went to Wellington? Were you
I wish I had a cool story to tell, but it was just just that traditional wheleaonga, I'll turn off the TV kind of thing. So yeah, so that's a sort of how my early years in learning shaped for me.
It's so interesting that you mention the influence, the impact your teachers had on you and your love for learning, because I guess my question is, you in South Auckland, the schools that you were at, were you seeing Pacifica teachers? Or do you know what I mean? Or was it just passionate teachers that didn't really, not necessarily Pacifica?
So I'd say in primary school, I don't recall a lot of, I guess, specific teachers, but I think it was the way certain teachers engage with us, with Pacific students or Pacific children. I think that's what stood out. But when I did get to high school, especially out at college, you could definitely you saw a lot more Pacific teachers, and that really I guess as someone just starting out in high school, when was it third form, so that's year 9 now. That's a big jump from intermediate to high school, and being able to see teachers that reflect not only what you look like, how you speak, but also what your values and what you've grown up with. So the things that you're hearing at home, you're seeing the very same things expressed through the way they talk, but also the way they interact with you in the classroom. So yeah, it probably wasn't until high school where you started to see not nearly as many as non-Pacific teachers, but certainly there were one or two there.
So your dad was a minister. He was serving in the Methodist Church. What are your memories as a youngster growing up in the, coming through church and being a Whewhi'ao's daughter? What was that like for you?
It's funny. My whole childhood and probably youth years, the way we lived and the things that we did, or the time of the year, it was according to our church calendar. So we knew what the start of the year looked like, what it felt like. We knew that Easter was coming up, and we knew what happened there. The drill, the Easter plays and the practices, and then our simoki, or sort of like bulenga combines, and then the conference and everything that happens in the lead up to our annual church conference. And then after conferences, Sunday is around the corner, then it's the whainga me or the whainga kaulanga. And before you know it's Christmas, and you're back to learning all these nativity plays. And but at the time, you never realized that's how your life was. And I really enjoyed it. And so my dad was him and my mum were pastors in the Samoan Methodist Church, and I'm really grateful for that my upbringing, because it's allowed me to, so my parents served in Wellington, then at churches in South Auckland, before returning back to Samoa. And because of their work, my siblings and I have been, I guess even our extended family have been able to have this extended church family everywhere we've gone. And so it doesn't matter how many years it's been since we've last seen these people, for every time we see them, there's that instant connection, because for us at that point in our lives, they were home for us. It wasn't just the physical church building or the whaliwhiwhi hour. It was the people that were our home at various points in our lives. So and we're truly grateful. So we we'll go somewhere and we'll meet someone, and make that connection when we find out where they're from, and what church to go to. And I think it's truly a beautiful thing. And so every 7 years we had to move.
That's right.
And that transition was a bit. It was a little bit hard. Not only for us in the relationships we had made with our church family, but also as a family. And so when it got to a point where I had just started high school, my parents were posted back to Samoa from Auckland. And without any discussion, my parents had made the decision that I would stay with my siblings in New Zealand to finish high schooling. I was in fourth form, so that was what is that? Year 10. Yeah, so it was a tough time for me, because you're just started high school, you're just trying to figure out what that feels like and looks like, and then you go tell your parents I'm moving to Samoa. So those. But other than that, I'm so grateful for the upbringing that I've had, and it's those I guess what I would call our monthly or our rhythms according to the church calendar are kind of things that I try to keep within, now having my own small family as well. So my kids know that, White Sunday is October, during those school holidays. They know what happens in Christmas. They know about Mang Wow. So yeah, as best as I can, trying to maintain those I guess those traditions that I have been so fortunate to have growing up in the Methodist Church.
Man, that's so cool. For our listeners who don't know what White Sunday is, because we're actually at those holidays right now. Well, not me, because I live here, but you guys, you guys
who are still
the
having
rest of
peppers.
So you're right now in those school holidays that fall on White Sunday. So could you just share a little bit about what White Sunday is for people who have no idea? They're probably
Yes,
going, white. What is that?
I can see how that would have sounded now.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. So White Sunday is an annual day, a Sunday, especially dedicated to children of Samoa everywhere, and we celebrate it through services where the children sing, recite Bible verses, do skits, plays, traumatizing, depending on
I was waiting for that. I was
what your
waiting for
family
that.
situation is like. But also just it's I guess for me, my understanding is that our children are they are absolute treasures within our Samoan context. So that is one way we celebrate them and acknowledge them, in what the role that they play within our families and within our lives. So and it happens in October, I think, for most churches, and it's we're seeing the latest shoes, the new latest Tasi designs, which businesses can get the most White Sunday line out in time, and it's truly I mean, we laugh about it now, right, Rosa?
Yes, sis.
We getting with
Do.
eyes. It wasn't funny.
It's so funny that how I'm laughing because how you're talking about the latest shoes, man. It's just bringing back scary memories. Like now I'm looking back, going, man, I was really, really. not good, because I remember we would go and my mum, she would have this idea, we're on this budget. This is the type of shoe you're going to get. But for some reason, now I'm thinking back and I'm going, why was I trying to get high heels at 10 years old? Why? So now you're talking about it and I'm going, oh my God, I was that kid. Like, but yeah, like it was the latest, just the nice ballet, and then the plastic ballet became fresh flowered headbands,
Yeah, yeah,
so ballet being the headband, and then it became fresh flowers, and then it became like Cook Islandish looking flowers.
yeah, yeah.
But it was almost like this competition, like who had the nicest dress. And my mom's best friend, actually to this day, is still her best friend of over 40 years.
Wow.
Her best friend from when she first came from Samoa to New Zealand, her best friend used to make my dress when I was little. And I think at the time, because then we had to go over, try the dress, do the whole parade. And at the
Yeah,
time, it used to be like, oh, cringe. But now when I look back, I'm like, oh, man, I'm so grateful, that
yeah,
my mom had this friend who always made really different styles, right? Like, I was so fuck manga, like now I'm just like,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, man, White Sunday, you know what they say, sis? They're like, White Sunday, like that's why we're all such great actors and actresses. Just kidding. Because
Nah,
that's our first exposure to the stage, right?
funny.
You know?
So I one of the, and I'm sure we'll get to that, but when I first had to deliver some workshops here at uni, I had to be really creative in how I was going to. So, one of the activities, and we were talking about, I guess, Pacific migration patterns and how they impact health. So I got my class, I said to them, look, I'm going to do this how I was brought up. We're going to do White Sunday. So each group is going to have to come up with a skit, a song, to deliver their message. And it was hilarious. But we had a lot of non-Pacific students in that class, and they were getting out of their comfort zone, but they really enjoyed the experience. And I guess my take-home message was, you just got to be ready when you get told if you got the solo, if you didn't get the solo, yeah. So it's just, I think about it now in hindsight, how those things that really shaped and molded my life have, at the time we we're like, why do you do Sunday school? This is not going to get us a job. But actually,
right?
the things that we did has now helped me in my job. So
It's
yeah,
so
White
true,
Sunday.
sis. White Sunday, being a youth leader, going to choir practice,
Yeah,
like doing creative, siva fa'aleanganga, creative dancing. I mean,
yeah,
all of that. Like at the time, not just White Sunday, but Govanga o Kalavo, Bulenga things. It was always like we're always on the go,
yeah,
and I'm,
yeah.
I'm listening to you, and a lot of what you're saying resonates with me because I'm like, yes, it was
That's
like this
cool.
calendar of
Yeah,
events where you're on the go. So,
yeah,
this is what you're doing at this time of the year. And especially White Sunday, during the holidays, it'll be like, okay, July holidays, it's the holiday program at church. And
yeah,
then October is White Sunday practice
yeah,
at church.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so teachers, I remember teachers at school, they always used to ask, oh, why is it that a lot of Samoan kids aren't coming on the Monday? And it's like, because we just had school holidays for 2 weeks and it wasn't even a holiday because we were practicing for White Sunday. So I think, teachers, and then once becoming a teacher, teachers were beginning to understand, oh, the Monday after White Sunday, a lot of
Yeah,
kids will be missing.
yeah. That's just an undeclared public holiday for the summer.
Yeah, so, something like that. Oh man, that's hilarious. And so, you know, thinking about mom and dad, what are some words of wisdom that you can remember them giving you, whether as a youngster or maybe in your teen years, or even later on, that you still hold close to you today, especially now that you got your young family there, like.
Yeah. So I mean, my mom. So my dad passed away. Gosh, 8, 9 years ago. So, but my mom, she's still in Samoa, so um, we're hearing it every week. um, but with my dad, I think he was a quite a straight shooter, and but he had this real beautiful labor of love, which I know so many people um, were able to benefit from in terms of his teachings. And so because he was a straight shooter, if there was ever anything that needed to be done, or if we were considering or contemplating something, and I know I saw it a lot with my older brothers when they had to make decisions around the education or taking up opportunities, um, things that along something along these lines, he would say things like, oi fight, just do it, and you can do it. If it's landed on you, or if somebody's asked you, obviously, it means that they think you can do it. So don't think about it. Don't take too much time. Just go and do it. And so, he was a proud Savaian man to the very end. And so he would always say this. I've mentioned this in another forum I was able to share a story with, and that was he would constantly say, "Ere pala aisi savai." People from Savai are not afraid. They have no fear. And so that was a kind of a like when we were younger, like, yeah, okay, everybody from Savai says that people from Savai are scared. But now I've really channeled that into actually, yeah, we not just people from Savai, but Samoans. We are go-getters, we're trailblazers, and I think I share those things with my kids. Probably not the young ones, but the older one now. When she's thinking about doing something at school, I always say, not exactly the same words, but if somebody's asked you, then they think that you can do it, and you can do it really well. So, those words echo every day in my mind when, especially living so far from family, about this, having confidence. And my dad his life was music. And so every day in our household, we are either singing, someone's got music on, and it would be a really weird time in our house if we don't hear music. And I think that comes from just how we grew up. The other thing my dad, these words was, like, like, and so, just those little things that, as an adult, I think back to just how much I probably took for granted those words. But for me, I've sort of interpreted that to, what needs to be done now. Don't focus on tomorrow or whatever's happened in the past. What's happening now? Focus your energy and time on that. So, yeah, my dad, everyone says their dad is the greatest of all time. But yeah, my dad was cool. And just recently I've been watching some video clips of him conducting choirs and that some family have sent through. And, those are really, I've really appreciated that, because over time, you don't want to forget what they sound like or look like or their mannerisms when they're in their zone. So, yeah, just being able to see that my dad in doing what he absolutely loved, besides roasting the choir. So, yeah, my mum is, I think now she's constantly reminding us of things my dad would have said whenever we sort of just, I guess, going through some challenges. She constantly, that's her point of reference now, which is really nice. And it's nice to know that we're always on the same page, and she knows how much of a influence he had in our lives and how much we absolutely love and adore our dad. So it's nice that she's reminding us of things that we tend to forget, And so through her, we're still hearing his voice and his words of encouragement.
Oh, that is beautiful. You mentioned music. Are you a musician? Do you play the
Yes,
piano, or are you like a beast as soprano or the bass? I don't know, tenor.
those genes missed me. um, but yeah, my dad was he was a he was a music was his life. So one of the things that he did in his ministry was choir.
Wow.
And so both my brothers play the piano, but one has continued, and so he plays piano for his church choir. Yeah, and then the rest of us were like, what talents do we get?
But you
But
must be the singers, right? You got to be the singers. Yeah.
well,
Come on. Don't
everybody
be
needs
shy.
a Beyonce, and yeah. But I think because of that, we grew up like his Vaibese we you were not allowed to miss choir practice.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we enjoy singing, and there's nothing quite like being here in Dunedin, and or even going to church, and the song is they say this is the hymn we're singing, and then it starts playing, and it just takes you back to a
Yeah.
time, whether it was just having look at home with our parents, or whether it was a besevet or a song that we had learnt during choir practice. And I'm not doing that with my kids, one song at a time. So yeah, music is very much part of that upbringing, not only for me but all my siblings, and they'll absolutely attest to that. And even though we're not, amazing singers, um, we, singing music, church music, our Methodist hymns are they're very much part of our lives.
Man, I'm gonna go and ask all the Otago people after this, because I feel like you're like secretly the Von Trapp family. I'm like,
Oh,
I need to go and find out after this if you're
I,
telling the truth.
I highly doubt it.
Man, that is I love it. Yeah, I love it, man. A lot of what you're sharing just resonates with me so much, thinking
That's,
about my parents as well. That is
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
I want to talk about Va'aotaute. I want to talk about Pacific health sciences at Otago, right? Which is the faculty that you work in. Did I say that right? Am I so making this up? Can you tell us a little bit about this program? As an educator, when I look up like health sciences, I know there's a lot of Pacifica kids that go into that. What is it about the health sciences that gets a lot of interest from our Pacifica students, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So the place I currently work for is so I'm at the University of Otago, and we have 4 divisions. One of those divisions is the health science division, and within that division we have now a new, not quite a department, but an entity. And so we are a Pacific Health entity, and the name of our guest space or our centre is Va'aotaute Centre for Pacific Health. So within this entity we run support programs for all our Pacific students. We also have a sort of strategic office, and they look after all our engagement, not only here with various stakeholders in New Zealand, but also engagement within the Pacific region. So we have a number of MOUs with different universities and organisations within the Pacific. But then we also have a research and teaching space, which is where I'm and really enjoying. And so I guess Pacific students have been coming to Otago to study the different health professional programs. We're the only university that offer a dentistry.
That's
So
right.
that's probably one of the reasons why lots of students come down here. Lots of students also come down with the aim of studying medicine. I think there's a few factors to that. So we offer really good support to our Pacific students who come down to study health sciences and the different health programs. But also it's the learning experience that they get by being at Otago. We've had heard a number of students, just say that when you are when you're studying at Otago in Dunedin, your life 24/7 is just a student. And so what's happened is all the things that I've talked about, relating to the church calendar, all those sort of things I've removed because now they're just a student. So, and some students, that works really well for them. Off the bat, they can transition into that I guess, student life very well and easily. But a lot of our students, and I would probably be one of those students who struggle from going to that life, got youth, got choir, church practice, then we've got my dad's village stuff, my mum's family stuff, coming to Dunedin where your only job is to study. There's nothing else that you need to do or are expected to do but to study, but also enjoy your studies and your learning experience. So I think that is it has a lot to do with why Pacific students choose to study here at Otago. So our division probably have the largest number of Pacific students in comparison to the other divisions. And so Otago has produced some amazing health professionals, dentists, physios, pharmacists, doctors, but also some amazing researchers as well. So I'm very fortunate to be able to be in this space. Coming from a humanities background, I never envisioned or imagined that I would be working in health science. But, I think it's amazing how God orchestrates your life. And so I think I've been placed there for a reason, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying exploring and what I can do for the students that I work with or engage with, drawing on my lived experience, drawing on my academic experience, but also just my love for my community in this place, Dunedin. It's truly a special, it's a really cool little city, as you would have seen in the Talai Mapusua video last week. So. So that's where I'm based. And honestly, Rosa, it's not just so my role is I teach the Pacific and Global Health major, which comes under the Bachelor of Health Sciences degree. I've also had the privilege of being in student support before I took on this role, and as well as knowing that you are a part of the learning journey for these students. The relationships that you get from meeting the families when they first arrive and just, being in touch for however many years that the students are here is you can't put a value on that. And so both my husband and I have been so fortunate to be in this space and just, truly realizing that this is something that we probably came to Dunedin for in the first place, and that is to really support our students. And it's so amazing to see them just grow, and also, seeing their parents on graduation day, and man, you can't explain or describe that feeling. So so that's a bit about, I guess, Pacific Health here at Otago. We're still growing. We're still developing, and we have an amazing team. So our director is Whamina Whawhite Sopoanga, a student herself, and she talks to us a lot about, so she was a Whiwhi El's daughter, and she, I think that's where we can relate and connect with her. And she came over for a scholarship, completed her medical training. She's a public health physician, and she's gone through her own challenges. And so having her as the person sort of directing and leading our team, it just, it's so fit for purpose. Everything that she's gone through, bringing us in who are much younger, but also what we want to achieve for not just our students, but essentially we're trying to achieve this for our whole Pacifica community, not only here in New Zealand, but also in the region.
Just in case no one knows, just shouting it out.
I'm wrong, honey.
And that too, take your place in the world. I know that's not the motto anymore, but still take your place in the world.
The only modest some generations will really face this.
Man, it's so exciting I mean, even just listening to you, I can feel your passion. I'm really feeling your excitement just in the job that you're doing, as an educator, shaping the lives of these young people, our young people, right? Who have, for many of them, come from miles away, so far away to come to Otago. And like, I know, like, even with my brother, as a student, they're just, everyone embraces you. And I know that even when we come to visit, would come to visit, and my parents just see how he is supported and looked after. And I know it's not just him. Like, I feel everyone that comes to Dunedin as a student feels that way, and I'm just listening to you with just so much pride. And going, that is awesome, sis.
That's enough.
So much pride in that. So with that, with so many highlights and joys in the job, what have been some of the challenges for you, like as an educator? What are some of the challenges that you've experienced?
I guess we being in a institution such as Otago, I think the biggest challenge is trying to be Pacific in a non-Pacific institution. And I guess we're really lucky that, we have some amazing champions within the university who are really supportive of all things Pacific. I mean, we even have a Pacific strategic framework.
Wow.
That's our what is it? Everything that we do, we reference. That's our point of reference. So that's been a little bit hard. Is sometimes being not outright questioned, but you can feel that there's a lot of hesitant or a little bit of pushback in terms of why do we need to worry about Pacific Health? As we say, it's even though we're specifically focused on Pacific Health, we are also very much part of this country. So when we're not focusing, if we're not going to lift up Pacific, it means that we're forgetting a certain population within our New Zealand country. So other than that, there haven't been many challenges. I guess I'm lucky to say that we've had more positives in comparison to I guess, challenges. We've had a lot of wins. If anything, they've been really learning curves and stepping stones to the work that we really want to achieve. So I think, really lucky that's how it's been. But I do speak on my behalf. There might be other people in the uni thinking, when is that happening?
But I guess I guess in your faculty, we're all good. We're all good. Like,
Hey guys, pick me up.
Everyone's gonna be like, let's quote her. Okay, so you've mentioned Dunedin, and I know it holds a special place in so many people's hearts. Like, people I know, they're like, Dunedin. It's just like, I feel like there are so many misconceptions about Dunedin. Like, what are some of these misconceptions that people have about Dunedin? What are the misconceptions and stereotypes that the rest of New Zealand have about Dunedin?
Oh, okay. I think, when people talk about Dunedin, they automatically think university students, Scarfy, that it's one big party place here, which is not true. And I guess it depends on who you're talking to as well. But also that it's so far and it's so cold. I would just like to state that Dunedin is only cold for about 3 or 4 months of the year.
Yeah.
The other 7 or 8, we're all good.
Yeah, Dana Stunner. Hashtag.
But this idea that it's really far, and I think this is probably a misconception within our Pacific communities, that it's really far. And it's actually not not quite a 2 hour plane ride, but it's closer than most people think. Um, and look, it's Scarfies are known for being for partying, and that's never going to change. But it's not something that they're doing all year round. It's just when they do, they do party up, and that's been going on for generations, and I think that won't change anytime soon. But you have to. I wish the media would catch the university during exam period when it's dead quiet, and students know when it's time to grind and to get to work. They do, and so it's really fascinating how the city itself has embraced the student culture. So during what we would call orientation week, even signs on the shops are trying to align with student events. Got these sales according to the student events, the toga parties, and so it's it really is a student city, and Dunedin is a pretty cool little city. And the beauty of Dunedin, and I'm speaking about our Pacifica students, is that when our Pacifica students arrive, everybody just becomes equal, regardless of where you come from, what you come from. When you're here, you are a student who's just trying to do their best, study, graduate, and do well for themselves and their family. And I think that's why students there's such a close-knit Pacifica community here on campus, because everybody knows we're all in this together, we're all in the same boat. And so that makes the city a little bit more special, and it's a beautiful thing to see the Samoan community when they find out that there's a student that's arrived that is either from a neighboring village or is from a village that their partner or there's always this connection somehow, and without question the Samoan community just steps in, and I guess all the different Pacifica communities here, they step in and rally and adopt that student, even if the student doesn't want them to, and they become their support system for the next 3 or 4 years during that journey. So I think that's what makes this place cool.
Did you ever think that you would be raising your family there? Like, did you ever imagine that years later you and Eric would be there still? It's just being in the community, being amongst it. Did you ever imagine that or think that would happen?
Not in a million years. In fact, when I was a student, I really hated this place.
You were like, I just want to get out of here, graduate, I'm out.
Absolutely. And I just, I just wanted to leave. And here I am, 19 years later, still here in Dunedin, and I don't think would live anywhere else in New Zealand. So, yeah, never thought that this was going to be the place where I would set up, have my family. But like I said, God doesn't want to know about your plans. He already had a plan and arrived. So, and I'm really thankful, truly grateful that we've decided to stay here. And, a lot of my uni friends, they often laugh and make fun of me that I haven't left. I really couldn't see us leaving anytime soon. And when Eric arrived to New Zealand, most people come and they stay in Auckland. Eric came straight to Dunedin. So some years he went to Auckland for the first time. So
wow.
So for all he knows, this is his first experience of New Zealand was in the South Island.
Great experience.
Yeah, but I tell them usually people go to Auckland first and then they make their way down.
That is funny. So if you could, you mentioned you wouldn't want to live anywhere outside of anywhere else in New Zealand. So if you could live with your family overseas, anywhere, like, I don't know, say you retire, whatever, where would you like to go? Where would you, a dream destination, where would you go?
Oh my goodness. I never really thought about that. I think while my mum is still well and alive, we've always just, defaulted to would go back to Samoa.
Mm.
But go back to my dad's words of encouragement and having courage. I would go anywhere, provided that um, I truly felt like that place was going to benefit myself and my family, and it was going to give us a real good learning experience that my kids could, look back on and really appreciate. But I think for now, it'd probably be back to Samoa.
Mm. That's cool. You're a small business owner. You're a business owner. Maikana. Did I say that
Yeah,
right? Yes.
yeah.
How did you come up with the name? Can you share a little bit about your business? Because, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to take some photos, and then when we edit, I'm going to throw it in there. It's amazing. Honestly, sis, you know what you do is, it's amazing. So
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you. Thank you. Now, so Maikana is, this really relates to our journey, me and Eric's journey here. And so what we do is we provide grazing tables and grazing platter services, which I know isn't everybody's cup of tea, but people in Dunedin like it, so I'm going with it. And so the name Maikana is Maikana in Fijian, means to come and eat. And so for the longest time, as students, it's something that I'd always hear Eric say. And even if we were just having like a cup of tea and some, those cabin bread biscuits, the masi samoa,
Yum.
somebody happened to walk into our flat, it was Maikana, like, come and eat, join us. And so when we were thinking about a name for the business, and the business, it was something we were already doing. And it wasn't until a colleague of mine made the suggestion, how about turn it into a business? And I don't come from a family of business owners. We don't have this entrepreneur background or mentality, but, tried it out, found that there was a niche here in Dunedin, and I was really focusing on my community. And so we've had amazing support from our community in growing this business. And so, we thought about, as students, what Maikana really meant for us in terms of, we are all broke students. We have to wait to get paid or when our student loan flicks through. So we shared whatever we had. And it didn't matter what that was and what that looked like. So when we thought about, what were the things that we're going to shape or, I guess, guide the way we did this business, and that we went back to that time in our lives as students. And so we thought of the values that we really wanted to make sure that our business represented, and that was around family, community, this practice of coming together around food. And so that's how we've taken Maikana and made it a business. And so when we do provide our services, whether it's a table for 20 or a table for 100, we really make sure that it does what we said we want it to do, but it creates that feeling and environment for our customers the same way it did when we were just sharing tea or whatever it was as students. So and it was it's been received really well, and it's in fact gone outside of our community. We have some really supportive businesses and other organizations who use our services. So as a business owner, we're still learning how to do this, but I guess we've always said, look, as long as we never stray from what the true meaning of Maikana is, then everything else we can learn and make sure that we're following proper guidelines as according to registration and all that. But as long as we continue to serve our community in the way that we wanted Maikana to, then I think we're all good. If we start to feel like that's not happening anymore, then we have said to ourselves, me and Eric have said, then we need to stop, pause, go back and try to understand why, so that I think that's about creating some accountability, but also boundaries for ourselves, so that we're not falling over the lines that we've placed to ensure that our business is doing what we said was going to do. So yeah, and so my kana, that's what it was. It was just constantly hearing Eric say my kana all the time to it was either asking them as a question or an instruction, or demanding like my kana, like come on. So yeah, that's how our business was born, from those times in our lives as students.
That's so special. And I really love what I like seeing is when you're doing it in partnership with another small business,
Yeah.
like another local business or just other, local community people. Like I
Yeah.
love seeing it. It's so beautiful. And honestly, I don't think anyone can do grazing. Like I just think some people have it and some people don't. And I just like, and I honestly, man, I just look at them like, man, it just looks so beautiful, too beautiful to eat, perhaps. I don't know. It just looks, I'm always in awe of your
Oh, thank
posts.
you, sis. I think, I know that there are lots of people that can do it, and that's awesome. But I think when we started it, it was also around, as a mum, constantly having these kids' birthday parties. And I was really struggling to, be the hostess with the mostest. But at the same time, I guess I'm a control freak when it comes to organizing events. And so, that was becoming really difficult. So I thought, if I could take that stress away from mums or parents when they're doing, having these events, then that might be something to really explore. And so, I've had mums and dads, just be really, I guess, really happy that there's something like that in Dunedin where they can just focus on inviting people and talking to people, and someone else comes in and does that. So that was the other reason for, okay, let's get serious. Let's make this business. So yeah, it's and now we have reached not only parents. That was the reason why I started out.
Right.
The number of 21st parties that I've had to go and set up in some student flats is has been interesting. We've done a wedding, we've done a 50th birthday, we've done a church ball, and asked me 5 years ago if I thought this was what my life was going to be like, and absolutely not. But I do. I really I really honor God for what He's done and what how this plan that is slowly unfolding for me and my family.
You're so courageous. Just taking your dad's words and going with it. So courageous. And you must be super patient because I would be like, I quit. I was like, nah, man, people making me so angry right now. I can't do this. I want to talk about your team. Do you have a team? Because man, the way I see it, I'm always wondering, does she have a team? Does she do this on her own? Yeah. Do you have
So yeah, funny. I always say team when I post on our Instagram.
sorry, workers, slaves. That's say it.
That Samoan concept of family.
Family.
No,
Yeah.
so a lot of the time it's just me, and depending on how big the order is just me, my 11-year-old,
Oh,
and now we have our family friend who she was just babysitting my kids at first, and then I was like, do you want to come help set up some tables?
wow.
And so and because I have a little bit of OCD when it comes to events and presentation, this family friend of ours, their daughter, she knows exactly how I work and think. So
Yeah.
I the way I operate is, if I can't do it if I'm spending a lot of time showing you how to do something.
Yeah.
Where she knows the drill, and
Yeah.
she's awesome. And so it's usually just me, her, and my 11-year-old.
Wow. That is hard work, man. Sis. It's just wow. If it's just that small a team, Man, it's amazing. And I can't wait till you're like all over New Zealand. It's amazing. It's so amazing just to see, just a small business flourish. And I love how you're talking about values. And I mean, that is very inspirational, sis.
Oh,
Super
thank you also.
inspirational.
I have to give a shout out though to Reese of Nesian Bites in Auckland. I was following her page even before I started, even made this a thought into running my own business. And she is amazing at what she does, and she does the same thing, grazing tables and platters. And so she's been a true inspiration. So I am constantly watching what she does and learning from her, messaging her here and then. She's just now, now in this day and age, you might find some businesses who are not as forthcoming in terms of
Right.
sharing.
It's like everything's a secret, huh?
Yeah, so I really appreciated Reese from Nesian Bites. Even just her small comments on the things I do, just truly uplifting. So I have to give her a shout out because it was really her business that really encouraged me to. And she's a mum too, and I know she works full time. And I thought, oh, you can do it. So,
you can do it.
It's possible. So it's hard work, but it can be done. So yeah.
Okay, I'll definitely tag her in this so she knows, gave a shout out. That's cool, man. That is so cool. I love that. Respect. So earlier this year, you completed your malu fair journey. You got your malu done. I remember my brother mentioned it, and then he had mentioned you were preparing for it, and then all of a sudden I was like, did she finish already? I so missed that. I missed it. I was like, did I not see the story? What was going on? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? Yeah.
So, I have to say that growing up with my parents in the Methodist Church, getting tattoos wasn't always something that we openly discuss. And so, I guess the first tattoo I got was a Talai, and so it took a lot of persuading for my dad to say yes. At 23 years of age, I had to ask my dad for permission. But so he said, "Yeah, okay, go do it." So I finally got it, and then I've always admired just how beautiful the la'i is on our Samoan woman, and so it's something that I've always thought about, and probably hasn't, I guess, didn't become something that I really wanted to do, probably until I started having my kids. And I think the reason for that was, and people will interpret the malu in their own way and their reasons for doing it, but for me, it was really coming to realize what my role was as a mum, as a wife, but more so as a mum, and what my job was in terms of, providing for my family, ensuring that my kids, had a life where they were not only secure, but I was teaching them the things that I grew up with, and just making sure that they become, just really good human beings, like really nice people. And so as part of that, I think that really motivated me, encouraged, and made me want to get them up even more. And so, unfortunately, because of COVID, I postponed it once or twice. And the dream was to have my mum here for it, but unfortunately, she's in Samoa. So I had it done in June with a cousin of mine. And this cousin, the reason why I guess I had, gone to her and asked her if this was something she'd want to do together. When my family and I first moved to New Zealand in the early 80s, we moved to Wellington, where my dad was the minister at Wesley Church in Wellington. And we had family here already at that church. And so I have an auntie and uncle in particular. Now, this auntie, every Samoan family has an auntie who can make any kind of Samoan food, like from bisua to sapusu, any baking. She's the auntie. But she's also the auntie that was so, like, she was sawa, she was always growling, and like, but for some reason, she was like the best auntie to us. And so, you know, a lot of our childhood and earliest memories and experiences of living in New Zealand was around her. And that was because if my parents were traveling for church meetings, that would be at her house. So we grew up with her kids. And so one of her kids, her daughters, Jean, um, for me to honor that link and what that, that time of our lives and how important it was for us, I decided that this cousin of mine, Jean, would be the best person for me to share this journey with. And we lost our auntie in 2099. I remember being in Wellington, and you just have an auntie or a family member who you always believe will be here forever. And will and we were just that really shocked us, and when we lost her. So that's the reason for choosing my cousin, or going to my cousin to ask if she would share that with me. And she, of course, she said yes before I even finished my whole spiel to do this. But I've shared to probably only to a few people that's the reason why I shared my Malofia journey with my cousin Jean. And that was honoring our, not only her mum, but just the huge role that her mum had in our lives when we first arrived in New Zealand. And I'm pretty sure my dad, would have supported that wholeheartedly, because this is family from Savai'i.
Shout out to all the Savai'i people there.
Absolutely. But also, in my parents' ngaluenga, this is the auntie and also uncle who just supported them, so much. And, especially with us kids being so young. So, yeah, it's after you do it, you have this different outlook, this different feeling. And you would have experienced that too, sis. Yes. And so I had gone and probably overthinking the whole process. And I was really lucky to have Li'e Favour, who was my tufunga, who I'd been following for a number of years. And so I imagine me being in, under the owl for maybe 2 to 3 days. And I think we started the first leg 2.5 hours later. He says, yeah, so sit up, we finished the first leg. I could not believe it. And so I was done in about 5 hours. So that was really cool. And he was, when you're getting your malu, you hear all these different stories of people's experiences. And oh man, it was everything that I needed it to be, and more. It was beautiful. It was just perfect. And the most beautiful thing was, not only that I shared that journey with my cousin Jean, but I had Eric, who's Fijian. We were actually seeing this whole thing done for the first time together, because I've never sat and seen anybody go under the au. So, and for him coming from a completely different culture, I mean, we have our similarities, but that was an experience that I'm so grateful to have had as husband and wife, but also as just these two different cultures. I had my close, I had my cousins there as well, who were, the way the whole day and the whole thing panned out was perfect. Like, I didn't plan it to be that way, but it was. And so, it was. I think I'm still on cloud 9. Yeah.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, that makes so much sense to me. because, you know, like you said, you've been following Leah Favor for a long time. And I just think, you know, I too was just kind of like overthinking as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And, you know, it's just everyone, like you said, everyone has their experience. And I remember, you know, when I'm always watching and I'm always like, you know, trying to note in my head, like take mental notes of what to do, what not to
yeah.
do. But then once you're lying there and even that first tap is just like, it's surreal. I
It
think
is,
that's,
isn't
it's
it?
just, you know, it's so funny because my left leg was 4 hours, but this is, my uncle was there, bless his heart, but he was whakalangoa lia the whole time and they were talking about the history. And
Yeah.
honestly, sis, I thought, wow, this is, you know what? I got this. I got this. This is
Yes.
not bad at all. It was, you know, just listening to these stories. And then we break for lunch, and Leah's like, yeah, it should have been a little less time, but you know, because we were talking. So when we go back, let's smash it out, you know. So, you know, me, I was just like, I got this. The right leg was, man, it was almost like, you know, when you hear the tap, but that the second leg, it was like once we started, it felt like the tap, every tap was like exaggerated. It was
Yeah.
that
Oh,
much
yeah.
louder, do you know? It
Absolutely.
just, I was
Absolutely.
like, okay, maybe I haven't got that. I was like, it was honestly, but it took so the right leg took 3 hours, and Leo was like, yeah, that's probably what the left leg should have been like. But they were just enjoying the conversation. So my uncle had actually left after lunch. He had to go for our, so they were like, let's smash it out. Because my brother was coming back that evening, and they're like, maybe we can do a little bit on him. But man, I for days afterwards, like even now, sometimes I hear that tapping on my right knee, which was, you know,
Oh my
just when they're about
goodness.
to finish, right? And it's like
Yeah.
it's like so vivid in my mind that I can hear the tapping.
I know what you mean with the second leg, eh? It's like now you know what it feels like, you know what to expect. So your
Yeah.
leg tenses and you keep getting told,
Oh,
relax your leg, relax your leg.
yeah. So, but it's, yeah. I mean, like you said, you know, I know that you know, some people talk of a spiritual experience, and everyone just has, you know, a different experience. And like, I wasn't meant to go on that day. Like, I was meant to be on the Friday, and my brother was meant to finish on the Thursday. Um, but that morning he wasn't well and really needed to rest. And then he rang Leah, and Leah said, "Oh, tell Rosa to come. Yeah, Rosa can
Yes.
go today." So of course, the night before, you know, I had been preparing, but the night before I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do on Thursday. I'm gonna get my music ready. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. So I'm like, I got Thursday to do that, and then I walk to the front, and then everyone's kind of emotional, and I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, Leah said to come today, and I was like, oh, okay, give me a minute. I rush to the bedroom, and I'm like, oh my god, you know, I'm like totally trying to like get into the space of, okay, this is what's happening. And I remember going to the front, and my mom's emotional. My brother, you know, he's in a lot of pain, and he's like, you know, I'm sorry, and I'm like, oh, don't worry, no time for crying. Do not cry, you know. I'm like, please don't cry right now, because if I start, I'm not gonna start. So me and dad dropped me off. We went there, did the look as usual, and the Leah said, you know, ole au ngā leo le soa. This is
Yeah.
this is this is the purpose of having a soa, is, you know,
Yeah.
if the other person's not feeling strong enough and they need to rest, then the other comes. And once he said that, I thought, okay, I got to do this. I have to do it for my
Yes.
brother, you know. So that, and then so that was kind of like, and he looks at me and he's like, should we go? Are you ready? I was like, let's.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm ready. I just couldn't think about. I just had to get in there and focus and just get on with
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So yeah.
I didn't
Who
realize that. I didn't realize you had
Yeah,
gone first.
yeah. So I was meant to be on the Friday. So man, I had this whole list of, this is what I'm doing on Thursday. Gonna have a relaxing day. Gonna be there to support Lani, because he was meant to finish on Thursday. But I'm so, you know, in the end, I think that's how it was meant to be. Because
Yeah.
he just needed it. Like, he was so strong. Like, every day I was watching him, I thought, I can't be weak. I have to take courage from that. I have to take courage from that. And then, and then they finished him on Friday. And I was just in awe of just, because I came and he had already started the journey because I was in quarantine. But man, yes, it's just, it's mind blowing. It's surreal. And like you said, everyone has the experience when you're on that mat. It's you own your experience. And I think, as many times as you can tell the story many times, but you just kind of like have to experience it, like you said.
Yeah, you're absolutely like, I'm trying to find a really beautiful way to describe it, but I think you're really trying to describe the feeling that you had from it rather than what the whole process. So that's amazing, and I love that. Like, just same for me. It was my experience. It was exactly what I needed it to be, and I love that you and Lani did it, and it ended up being you first, and then him, and like, that's probably how you needed it to be. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, just before I give you a chance to perhaps share some words of encouragement and some books, if you have any, who has been your biggest inspiration? I know you've got Mum. Who are some of the strong women or just people who inspire you daily?
I think most of the women in my family do. My watching my mum, in her role as Faletua growing up, and she was a pretty strong woman, both physically and mentally, to endure years of her role, which she absolutely loved. And she's retired now, so we have to remind her that she's retired. But she in her mind and in her heart, she's still very much in role. So seeing her, how she's had to support my dad, but also be a leader within her own right, especially when it came to the women's group within our church, but also within our family. So definitely the woman in my family, especially my mum. Right now, I guess it's seeing a lot of my friends who I went to uni with, and seeing what they're doing in their own fields really inspires me. And most of us are around the same age, and it's I guess it's fuel for me to do the things that I am trying to do when I see that the group of people that we all started with here at uni, all trying to live on this, was it $150 from week to week as a student, and endure all those challenges to finish our studies, and now I've got our friends, our group of friends are all doing amazing things, whether it's in health, whether it's in education, in sporting fields. I have a friend who just cannot stay put in New Zealand and keeps traveling, and we've said to her, you realize there's a pandemic going on, right? But and so I think that shows me that when you surround yourself with a really good group of people, that's going to that energy and that positivity, I guess, not only helps you all to finish and graduate, even in life now as adults, and we're still doing that. So I think I actually draw on from the strength of my friends who are, shout out to all of them, the community, as we call ourselves. But even after the years, because they all left and I stayed in Dunedin, so I've got friends that are, but one person I want to really credit is she wouldn't say she hates being called boss, but her name is Dr. Rosalina Richards, and she is somebody who I've learned from, especially in my role here at Otago. But just her, she's a leader who does so with a lot of grace and humility, and just just having, you have somebody who just provides a lot of reassurance, even without saying anything, but also her work ethic, and what she's been able to achieve in her academic career. And she'd probably laugh if hearing me say her academic career, but she's just somebody who I'm, I love learning from. I love being around. So I'm lucky that I get to work directly under her as I guess, in my teaching role at the university. And so, also sharing a bit of humor around being Samoan. So she's part Samoan. She's grown up here in New Zealand. And so, and asked me, goodness, 6 years ago, if I thought I'd be working with Rose, that would not have crossed my mind, but I'm truly grateful that I now have, I get to work under her and learn from her. And so, I just want to give a shout out to Rose. It's probably going to tell me I shouldn't have done that. At the moment. But I guess, I'm still, I'm the youngest of my siblings, so, I don't think I'll ever stop learning from my sisters and from my mom and my cousins and aunties who are probably my cousins who are slightly older than me and have a lot more experience than me. I think that doesn't stop, especially when you become a mum. But in terms of trying to make it and trying to really do something for yourself and succeed as a full-time working mum, living in Dunedin, far from my family, from my in-laws. I think Rosa is somebody who has really helped guide my journey here in Dunedin.
That's cool, man. So do you have any book recommendations, or do you have a book that you've read recently, or even a childhood book that you want to share with the audience? Or
so the reader in our house is my 11-year-old. Rosa.
That's cool.
That's okay with you. I told her that I was doing this, and I said, can you recommend a book? Okay. So this girl, when the kids get money from family members first thing she asks us is, can we go to the warehouse? Can we go to Whitcourse? Or anywhere she can go and buy a book. And sometimes it frustrates me because she'll buy the book and then 2 hours later she's like, that was really good. And can you make it last? Because then the next thing I know is I'm going to hear is, can you buy this other book that I saw? So she's the reader. So if it's okay with you, I asked her to.
Of course.
She's our reader. She loves reading, and I'm really happy that she does. That she really enjoys this. So there's the series of books.
Okay.
So it's by Raina Telgemeier. I had to get her to teach me how to pronounce the author's name. So and so it's a series. And so this one, she said, Mum, share this one. So it's the Smile book. And it's about, I guess, because she's an 11-year-old, it resonates with her. And it's about a young girl who is going through, what you go through at that age, puberty, friends. And so she has to get braces on her teeth, but it's like a retainer, like one of those helmet ones. And so, she gets mocked. And so she learns who her true friends are in this story. But at the end, as well as being able to smile because she's had this accident and caused her teeth and it's not only being able to smile because of that physically, but being able to smile from what's coming inside or what's going inside, and it's from finding good friends, being able to express her artistic side. So my 11-year-old is the reader, but she's also the drawer and the writer in our family. So she wanted me to recommend this book.
That is awesome. You know what? I love that. You know, my grade 6 students, they love I've got a student who was just reading that book like a few weeks ago. So and I like grade 6 is that age, like
Yeah.
11.
Okay.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. That's I was excited when you put it. I was like, no way. That is so, you know what? That is the first time someone's done that, and that is super cool. Like,
Oh,
seriously, sis.
awesome.
So please tell your daughter, man. I love it. Her recommendation is so cool. And,
Oh, yay.
you
I will
know,
certainly tell
kids
her.
her age in Japan at my school read that book. So that is
Oh,
very
that's
cool.
cool. Yeah. So she I said to her, okay, so how many times have you read it? And she said, okay, at least about 25. So I'm like, oh, that means she's gonna ask me for a new book. So
Oh,
um and sometimes I have to catch myself because when we go somewhere, like if it's to the mall or to a store, as soon as I hear her say, I'll be back, I know exactly where she's going. And so sometimes I'm like, stop asking me to buy these books. But I have to catch myself. And, if my dad heard me say that to her, they're like, he'd be pretty angry with me. So I'm trying to learn as a mum to really embrace it and to encourage it. And so sometimes we'll be calling her for ages to come and do a fit out. And it's because her head is buried
I
in the
was
book.
that kid. I was
Maybe you
that
should interview her.
kid. Oh my goodness. Encourage her. That is so. Oh, I love that.
So I
Seriously.
have photos of her when we're in shops like clothing stores, and like Lisa Fa'ilele, she's downstairs and she's just reading, and like so yeah, she's the reader. She loves reading, and I love that she's starting to, like, it's not just a story. She's
Mm.
seeing these books for what they are, and she really resonates. And as a mum, there are certain things that you're like, how do you start these conversations? And I'm finding that these books, are doing
Yes.
it for me. So
Yes. You need to start finding the book that want to talk about
mum
a
hack.
particular topic and just, slide it in there under her pillow.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
So
special. I love that.
getting like gift vouchers where if it's for a bookstore, like to her, that's gold for her. So yeah, I had to ask her because I thought, oh my gosh, I only read boring things. And so she was, when I said to her, darling, I'm doing an interview. I'm going to have a chat to somebody tonight, and they've asked me to recommend a book. Girl comes out with like this pile of books. She's like, and starts doing it to me. She's like, okay, so in this one, I would say that I just need one.
Natural
So
teacher
yeah,
by the looks of it. Natural teacher. Oh, yeah, man. Give her my love. And honestly,
I will.
encourage her. Buy her
Yeah.
a whole library, Eric. If you're listening, buy her a whole library. Just kidding. Okay. I'm looking at the time and I'm like, I'm so late muffs because it's after midnight in New Zealand and I'm
Um,
still yapping.
all good. When something feels so natural and so beautiful as this, time doesn't matter. So it's all good, sis.
um, you know, I was just thinking. I mean, this is the time of the show when I ask the guests, what are some words of encouragement, or a quote, something that you think would help someone out there who's listening. It doesn't matter if it just resonates with one person. I mean, I think our job is done. So, words of encouragement. You inspire me, so I'm thinking surely, you've got something to share that can inspire the rest, all
Oh
the
man, I set
listeners out
myself up.
there. Yeah. So what are just some words of wisdom
Yeah.
that you have?
Goodness, so it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and so I think what I really want to share is something that I'm also experienced myself, and that is, um, often we feel pressure, or this there's this expectation for us to be able to do this, this, and this within a certain time frame. And for me, I overthink things, and I think a lot of the time, our best, even though we don't think it's our full potential, our best is more than what the other person could ever imagine. So I think it's really important now, a time to really remember that what you give out should balance what you take in as well. So for me, I'm guilty of always feeling like every single aspect of my life, the business, the kids, the work, has to be done like it's not only just 100, like beyond 100. And sometimes that comes at the cost of my own self, in terms of my just the way I think, in the way I see the world. Sometimes I'm learning now that if I have 4 things that are really important in my life, it doesn't always have to be 25, 25, 25, 25. There might be sometimes in the month or in the week that it might have to be 60, 30, 10, and 0. And that's okay, as long as you're feeling okay inside and your mind is okay. I think that's something I'm learning, and I'm on a learning journey to understand what that looks like in terms of balance. So I think really important, if I just share anything, is we're hearing this theme of be kind, but I think how I've interpreted that is actually be kind to yourself first, and being kind, whatever that looks like. That's how you define it or you interpret it. It's not what others would portray as being kind. Whatever their definition of being kind is, that's for them. But whatever you think is being kind to yourself, then go with that. I think we fall too hard into this trap of, gosh, why doesn't my house look that clean, or why haven't I got that for my kid, or why can't I get this? It's actually whatever season you're in, then you've got to adapt and accommodate to that season. Can't be having things in the next season, season that you're in, if that makes sense. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was inspiration at all, but
that was inspirational. I needed that.
I think that's coming from a learned experience. So, and I think there's space for all of us to win. It might not be all at the same time, might be at different times, but whenever that time is, it will happen for you. So I've just, what, thank you, sis, for having me on here. It's actually refreshing to be able to talk and to talanoa, especially coming out of lockdown. I've had my adult interaction has been very limited. It's been a lot of yelling and shouting at the kids. So this is really nice. This is really refreshing. And I guess after emails and messages, it's so nice to finally to be able to speak to you in person, online though. And hoping and praying that whenever the time is, that we'll be able to do it in person, sis. So you're going to come back to Dunedin.
Yeah, and because I was in Dunedin for like just a weekend, I just came. I came to Dunedin to because I didn't want to say goodbye to my brother. I know that sounds so like, hey, I was just not ready to say goodbye to him, because I was still gonna. I was just like, no, not yet. And I came to Dunedin, and
nice.
I had planned initially. I was gonna catch up with you. I was gonna catch up with Troy. And his, sick ass podcast and catch up with the bro. And didn't even get to do that, because then I was just kind of like trying to spend as much time with my brother. I was so clingy. I was like, I'm not ready to say goodbye. So I hope next time, sis, we can
absolutely,
but yeah, you know, your words of encouragement, I mean, I'm seriously encouraged from it. It's something that I need to hear like constantly, right? Like just what you shared, like was like, yeah, it's speaking to me, and I'm sure will inspire and resonate with those who are listening and joining us, you know, through YouTube. But just before we go, yeah, I appreciate you so much, sis. You know, I do realize with the time difference now, because no one told me it was daylight savings. Hey, thanks, fam. Missed the look one Sunday, but you know, I thank you so much for staying up late for this. And you know, I know you're working, you got your family and your kids there, but it just means a lot. And you do inspire me. I love seeing, I mean, yes, your family updates as well, you know, and then your business. I love seeing that, you know, and I just think we need to, you know, normalize uplifting each other and encouraging one another. And like you said, you know, we can all be winners, you know, and when it happens, you know. So I'm really encouraged by just what you've
Awesome.
shared tonight and just your journey, sis. Thank you for coming into the space, and you know, talanoa. It's been real moving, and I'm definitely taking a lot of gems away from our
Oh,
talanoa
bless.
tonight. So you know, bless you, sis. Bless your family.